Hi everyone, I'm Ella Mitchell with KTK News. October is here, meaning the fall season is in full swing. School is back in session and children across the country are getting ready to trick or treat. But this month also marks Breast Cancer Awareness Month, a time to recognize the thousands of women and men who have fought their battle with breast cancer. According to the American Cancer Society, in 2025, more than 300,000 women in the United States will be diagnosed with invasive breast cancer. For our special Stronger Together Voices Behind the Pink Ribbon, KTK News sat down with women who have dedicated their time and energy to spreading awareness throughout East Texas, and these are their stories. Our first story highlights a woman whose strength and resilience have inspired everyone around her. She beat breast cancer in 2020. But for her, survival is also about honoring the family she's lost along the way. This is Nakisha Douglas.
Well, hi there, Nakisha. How are you doing today?
I'm good, and you?
I'm doing very well.
Good.
Now, what area of East Texas are you from?
Dangerfield, Houston, Texas.
Dangerfield. Wow. Well, thank you so much for making the trip out here from Dangerfield all the way to the station. That is very much appreciated. Now, I just want to go ahead and start off. Could you kind of walk me through your family's history with breast cancer as well as yours? You told me that you had multiple women in your family that have faced breast cancer as well as yourself. So could you just kind of walk me through that?
Yes, sure. So my grandmother, she was passing away in the year of 77, and that's actually the year I was born.
Mm-hmm.
And she had breast cancer, and it had metastasized all the way to her brain, and she passed away with brain cancer. Then it was my mother, who I believe not good with remembering numbers, but in 2013, I want to say my mother, who I seen about, she had breast cancer, and I took care of her from the beginning to the end, and her breast cancer, it had metastasized to her. So then there was my sister, who was at the age of 25, that had breast cancer. And I knew, but I didn't know. And so through these years, I'm knowing that my sister has breast cancer. And by the time that she was 50, 51, 52, I think 1 year, 5 years out of that, she didn't have breast cancer. But the rest of the years of her life, she had breast cancer. And she was the first person I actually ran to when I found out that I had breast cancer. But one of the things that for her is that she dealt with it all her life, and she tried to make sure she was strong enough for us when we first found out. But then she passed away, my sister. And then I had another sister that had breast cancer. She didn't have to do the chemo, the radiation. With early detection, it was able to just have surgery. And then through all those years, seeing everyone with breast cancer, after taking care of my mother, then here I was. And I went to the doctor because I felt a short pain in my breast, and I felt a knot, which was about size of a tennis ball, and I was like, oh my. And I went to the doctor, and they immediately started, they did a mammogram, an ultrasound, and then they came back and told me that I had breast cancer. And of course, I cried for a little bit, but then I could hear my father telling me, hey, we feel sorry for ourselves for a little while, and then we get up and we handle the task. And there I was, walking around with stage 3 breast cancer. And during our times now with breast cancer, it's more of HER positive or HER2 positive, negative, things to that nature. But I wanted to know what stage I was in because that's what I knew and remember the most about my mother and my sister. And so they told me it was stage 3, and I just looked up towards heaven. I was like, thank you, Jesus, because if I would have waited any longer, it could have metastasized to my body. But they had found the breast cancer in my left breast, a little in my right, and then my lymph nodes in my right arm. And all I had surgery. And when I had surgery, the lymph nodes, they didn't get them all. So I had to go back in a week later and do it all over again. So that's when it really got serious. And I was more like, oh my gosh, how do you know if you got all the cancer? Or since you're going back in, what tells you? And I just couldn't understand it. And then that's when I was like, I can't go unless I know. And they was like, we're going to remove all of them. And that way we'll know that there's no cancer left in any lymph nodes because we got them all. And that's when I felt relieved. And I was like, thank you. So with that, there was genetic testing that because I had another sister and a daughter. And genetic testing we perform, which we do that because when you do a genetic testing, it allows you to know which side is heavy on your family. And when we did our genetic testing, cancer was heavy on both sides, my mom and my father. But I think my mom won it because it was more of the same cancer, breast cancer, all the way through. And so they asked my sister if she wanted to take early prevention and remove her breast because that'll give her decrease her chance or have less chance of having breast cancer. And my daughter, she goes in, she's 24, and they started with her when she turned 25 to test every year, although they did do self-mammogram check, but she'll start with the mammograms next year, I'd say the same.
So, what was going through your mind every time someone in your family was diagnosed? How did you tackle such devastating news?
With my sister, she was such a strong individual that we never talked about it. And so I never seen her as a breast cancer patient or person because she never acted or talked about it. With my mother, when I seen her with breast cancer and went through it with her, I never thought about me, but I thought about if that time do come, I was like, okay, God, I see that with the breast cancer is strong in our family, and I don't want to say who is next, but we do have another sister. So I was counting, you know how you can just look at my mother and say, okay, my mother had two sisters and it went to her.
Mm-hmm.
Then my sister had it, and I'm the middle, and I have a younger sister. So I'm saying, which one? But then after that, I just prayed, and after seeing my mother and seeing my sister go through it, then I knew that whatever it would, God would take care of me. But I did not want it. I did not want to hear those words. I didn't.
Of course. I love what you just said right there, and that kind of ties me into my next question, which is, what did you feel seeing this? Did you feel the strength from your grandmother, mother, and sister while they were going through the treatment process? Did that kind of inspire you to keep going and to push through the treatment plan? Because I've never had cancer, I had to go through that kind of treatment, but I heard that it's just absolutely exhausting. So did they inspire you to keep pushing through that?
Yes. When I was diagnosed with breast cancer, I was ready.
Mhm.
And one day they walked me in the room where I was going to have the treatment, and I just broke down because I seen all the flashback of what my mother went through, and then realizing what my sister was going through. And she told me, she was like, you know what? She walked me through the whole process, and she was like, when you take that red devil, that's what we would call it. It was very hard, bad on your heart. And she would always tell me, you know what, when you take that, you make sure that they check your heart. And so she would guide me through it. But when I started chemo and I seen all the people that was in there taking it, I was like devastated to know that everybody was going through this. And it was men too. And that really shocked me because I was like, why would a man? How do a man go through this? But they was going through it. And so during that time, I didn't want to tell anyone. And I told my family later, but I knew we had to be strong because that is what we was made of. We was made to be strong and go through it well and know that whatever happened, God had us. And so with my mother and my sister going through it, and God allowed my sister to stay here with us, then I knew I was okay. And so I made it a fun day. I would go on my Facebook and I would educate and talk to people about chemo. Chemo was disgusting. You can, when they put they had to put the and I can't even think of the name right now, but once they put the catheter in you, what was it? I don't think it was a catheter. I think it was a port. When they put the port in you and they put the medicine in, you could feel it in your body. I've never felt it like going through my body, but when I felt it, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna have to make the best of this. And so I wanted to be strong just like that.
Wow. That
And
is
I
very
just kept going.
That is honestly very inspiring. I remember, and now you just mentioned a lot of talk about God and Jesus and how he helped get you through that. How was he there for you whenever you were going through this? Was that someone that you, or something that you looked towards trying to help get through this, or how did you go about that?
I never asked God when this happened and I heard the words that I had cancer. I never asked God to help me. I just knew that he would. Because when I went through the process, I didn't hurt. I was just, no pain. It was just more of a comfort and a relief that I was going through a process in my life. And I have been walking with God since I was 5 years old. I've been singing since I was 5 years old. Our mother had us in church. Our parents had us in church. So we knew who to call on. And so when I was going through it, I would call my chemo my relaxation day because I worked all the time. And I would just sit in a chair and relax because no one could bother. There was our time alone. And I just sit there and I looked and I read signs like warriors. And I started focusing on other people that really needed some help. And that's how I got through my chemo. And I would always do a Facebook Live and allow the people, especially in my hometown, East Texas, to know that, hey, go get checked. Because if you don't want to get checked, you're going to have to go through this. And I'm going through it. And this is not something you want to ever go through.
Wow, I mean, that's amazing. You just told me that while you were getting treated for breast cancer, you were still looking out for other people and trying to find people who deserved help. That is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
And speaking of that, I heard that you also had a cancer awareness walkathon. Was that on October 18th? Was that an event that you hosted in Dangerfield? Is that your event, or were you a part of it?
Yes, that is something that God had gave me. So I was trying to figure out how I can give back. I never forget, I was sitting in a doctor's office. When I first got diagnosed with cancer, they immediately told me to go to oncologist. And the oncologist, when I walked up, they were like, you have to pay a copay. And I was like, a copay? I just found out I was diagnosed. Copay, that's the least thing that I'm worried about. They told me to come over here so we can start a treatment plan. And when I realized how important it was to pay a copay, when I realized that a woman sat beside me and she was like, ma'am, do you? And I'm not. I did all my treatment in Dallas, Texas, and I'm not from there. So I lived with my sister during that time, and she came up to me and she said, "Listen, I just got here, and I'm trying to get back to my room, and I don't have any gas money for Uber or anything." And I looked at her and I was like, I realized how blessed I was, and I wanted to help her so bad, but at the time I didn't have any money on me, and so. After that, that's when I finished all my chemo and my radiation, and God said, me and my sister, we was talking, she's like, what are you gonna do? You're telling everybody that you have cancer, you're on Facebook, you're talking, what's next? And I said, I'll start a walk. And she was like, okay, we'll see. But my sister always told us, like, if there's nothing that is going on, you be the one to start it. And that's what I did. I started it. God gave me that. He gave me a vision. And I did it the first year with the help of my family. The second year with the help of my family. The third year, the community started coming. And then the fourth year, it was like I was so exhausted because I had lost my sister through all of this, and I just did not want to keep going. But my friends, my family, they kept pushing me and said, "Hey, you got this. Remember what the purpose was. Remember what the mission was." And that's when how I got here to my fifth year without my sister Leslie. But in spirit, we did our fifth year Zeta Girls, Pink Sisters and Brothers Walkathon. And that's how Zeta's Girls got started. My grandmother's name was Zadie. She had my mother. Then there was me and my sister, and it's Zeta's Girl. And I know that they'll be proud because even though it was something that we didn't want, but it was a purpose to it. And sometimes we have to go through things that we don't want to go through. But if we keep going through it, we'll realize what our purpose is. And that's how Zeta Girls got started.
That's a great story, and you said that this has been going on for 5 years now. How have you had the chance to talk to other survivors at this event, and what does this event mean to them and those other girls, or those other women or men that are going through similar things that you went through?
The whole purpose of this Zeta Girls for me was to serve them. After you go through so much, people think that it's okay, and people that haven't been through it, they'll say, "Oh, we just thank God that you're alive," and we do thank God we're alive.
Of course.
But we went through chemo, which messed with your brain. And it's called chemo fall because it's hard to remember. Even when I talk now, I have to usually talk with my eyes closed so I can focus on what I want to say. Sometimes the words come out without in my brain or what sentence to put it in. We ate, we have pain. I've had neuropathy. When I first got diagnosed, they said I was a perfect Black African or female with no medical history, perfectly healthy. And now I have neuropathy. So what I wanted to do is take that and serve the pink, which I call Pink Sister, but all the breast cancer survivors. There's like 6 or 7 of them in my hometown. And I help walk them through it. I allow them to talk to me. I host this events and I serve them that day. So the whole community, it's a chance to love on them. It's a chance to get the family together. We just did our first breakfast this year, and families came out and they ate, and the survivors just sat there. After everything you're going through as a mother, you still, no matter that you have a diagnosed with cancer or breast cancer or anything, you still have to keep going. You can't afford to get tired. You can't afford not to work. And you got all this going on, and everyone is saying, like, I'm just glad you're here, but no, so where is the help? And so with Zeta Girls, we take the breast cancer. This was our first year where we was able to have wigs donated to us by Crowns of Encourage. They donated wigs, so women was able to come and get wigs. Insurance is very high with wigs, and if you don't have insurance, then you can't afford to get a wig. So we was able to provide wigs. Now more people are donating wigs to us. We were able to provide them with financial to help with gas, because it takes, you budget your money on your expenses, but you never budget it with a crisis. And so now they have a crisis and their funds are low. So that's what we do. We go in and we help them. We're trying to build our funds up where we look for people to help donate so we can even provide food. God gave me this gift where I do salads, and it's called KB Salads. And it's a healthy salad for women because you have to have nutrition, certain nutrition once you're on this battle. And so I try to provide a healthy salad for them to be able to eat, and then I give that to them, and if they want something to eat, it's a juice that I make, so it's not sweet on us for the sugar, and I tried to help with that way. And it's all because of God. I had gifts that I didn't even know I had, but that's what Zeta Girl is about. We don't want you to ask. I'm not, Zeta Girls doesn't come to the Pink Sisters or breast cancer survivors and say, hey, do you need this? We know what you need. And we give back to the community around Dangerfield and East Springs and Pittsburgh or Mount Pleasant, wherever they're from, Omaha, Texas, Naples, Texas, we're giving back. And I just don't want you to have to suffer with finances while you're going through breast cancer. And thank God I didn't, and he brought me here to help you.
Wow, I mean, it sounds like you have just helped so many people throughout the years, and you've really paved the way for others. Because as you mentioned earlier, you had some financial issues whenever you were, diagnosed with cancer. Because like you said, you can only budget for what you know is going to happen, not
Right.
tragedies and stuff like that. So the fact that you had to go through not just the medical troubles and the emotional troubles, but also the financial, and you're making a way for other people to go into the same situation and to kind of start in a better situation than you were. That's just absolutely amazing, and I feel like that is going to be part of your legacy that you leave behind. And I just want to ask, I know where you're taking your legacy right now, but what legacy do you feel that your grandmother, your mother, and your sister have left behind?
A legacy of no matter what, you keep going, you push through, and you trust God. And that's what they left for us, that if you don't see it, believe it, speak it, and walk in it. And that's how I feel from my mother, uh, my sister, and with me. And that's what I teach my daughters.
How many kids do you have?
I have two. I have a daughter and a son, and then I was blessed to have six more, and I have three girls, three boys.
That's awesome. Well, they have
Yes,
a very amazing mother and a very
yes,
amazing person to
and
have with them.
they walk with me. They are with me. I never feel alone. I feel their support, but and they help me on the walkathons. They come out, they donate it, they help any kind of way they can, and they really tell me how much they appreciate me and how I inspire them. So it feels good to know that when you're doing something right, but it feels better with me because I know I'm doing what God asked me, and that means so much.
Now, I know that you've just spent the last several minutes telling us your story and giving us absolutely inspiring just advice and everything like that. I just want to ask, is there one last thing that you want to leave to anyone watching at home who may be diagnosed with breast cancer, any other cancer, or may just be going through something hard in their life? What message do you want to leave for them?
The message I want to leave with them is that God told us that He knew us in our mother womb. We worry and we try to fix things, but that's not what God wants us to do. He wants us to leave all our worries and burdens to Him. So whatever pain you have, whatever you're hurting with, no matter what the situation is, there is a higher calling, and you leave it with Him, and He will see you through. And sometimes our healing is not on this side, and that's something that no one wants to hear. But there's a purpose through everything, and sometimes God uses us to get His purpose through to other people. So I just encourage you that no matter what's going on, reach out for help if you want help. Find out in your community what places that serve and have shelters or food banks or help with cancer. Use when you're in the hospital, ask for your social worker to guide you. Use all of those things for you to speak on and let God do the rest.
Well, thank you so much for that lasting message, and thank you so much for doing this entire interview today. This is the first of many interviews that we're going to have with breast cancer survivors, and your story is absolutely touching, and I really appreciate you for coming on the show, Nikisha.
Her story is a
Hey, Jasmine, how are you doing today?
Hi, how are you? Good
I'm-
to be here.
Of course, thank you so much for coming out to the show. I really appreciate
course.
it. We love hearing everyone's stories that has had to battle breast cancer, everything like that. Of course, I have a grandmother who survived breast cancer, and I love hearing stories from other women who have been through a similar battle. Could you go ahead and just walk me through when you were first diagnosed and what your battle has looked like so far?
Yes, of course. So I was first diagnosed in September 2019. I had just turned 31 years old.
Mhm.
I had a lump near the surface,
Mhm.
doctors thought, oh, you're young. No, this is probably nothing. We'll go ahead and get it biopsied just in case. Got it biopsied, and 6 days later, the test results came back that it was breast cancer. And did my first mastectomy in November of 2019.
Wow. So you said 6 days later after you had this lump checked out that it actually turned out to be cancer. What was going through your mind whenever you were first diagnosed? Did you kind of believe like, oh, this can't be happening to me, or what were you going through?
Man, my 14-year-old now, who was, I believe he was 8 or 9 at the time, my first thought was about him. Like, okay, well, let's try to keep things as normal as possible for him. I can do this. I've always had a very positive, like, mind over matter can get you through anything. I just wanted to keep things as normal as possible um, for my family, for my son. But of course, you play the what if game, and of course, no one could have predicted that the whole COVID thing would come just a few months later at the beginning of 2022, and that was interesting going through a mastectomy in the end of 2019, and then COVID hit in 2020, and going through chemotherapy during that time period was pretty interesting.
Now, are you one of the first people in your family to go through breast cancer or any kind of cancer, or have you had any other family members who have also?
So I
gone?
have a very distant aunt who did have breast cancer, but she was my mom's half sister. But they do genetic testing called the BRCA, and I tested negative for that, so it was not genetic for my particular case.
Okay, so it just happened to just be there. I know that's how a lot of people actually get diagnosed. Some it doesn't always run in the family line. I mean, I was
Right,
interviewing another woman yesterday, and she has had multiple family members who have had breast cancer. But then there's people such as yourself who it's not genetic; it just happens. And have
right.
you really done any like research and found out about why that is? Do you have any
Oh my gosh.
suspicions on why that might have happened? Or
I've like delved deep in the research road
Mhm.
of.
Yeah.
I feel like I could be an oncologist sometimes about as much research as I've done. Um, I environmental, a lot of things that we consume, our diets. I
Mhm.
have a huge play in how our cells operate and function, and I personally believe that just diet and um, environmental things can definitely lead to one's body who doesn't have that gene, that BRCA gene, that breast cancer gene, to definitely produce breast cancer, sadly.
And I know that you also mentioned to us that whenever you were diagnosed, you were given a certain time period to live and spend with your children, and then also your husband. What got you through such a difficult realization to happen, to hear from a doctor?
Right. So my first battle with breast cancer, I had my surgery in
Hmm.
2019, went through chemotherapy all the way through April of 2024, 2020, sorry, during the thick of COVID.
Hmm.
Um, was considered cancer free. My particular cancer is estrogen based, ER positive, and so went cancer free for about a year. Met my husband,
Hmm.
wanted to have a baby with him, stopped taking my medication, which is called tamoxifen, and got pregnant like we wanted to. And when you get pregnant, what happens? Your estrogen goes through the roof. So, not being on the medication and my estrogen spiking the way it did, my cancer returned when I was pregnant with my second son. And I went in for labs like we're supposed to do every 3 months. They're called CA15 tumor marker labs. And mine were 4 times as high as they were supposed to be. And so they're like, well, let's get you some scans and make sure that your cancer hasn't returned since you haven't been on the medication to keep it at bay and you are pregnant. Went in for those scans. Those scans led to more scans, led to MRI imaging, and we found out that the cancer had spread to my liver, my bones, and I had 2 brain mets in the back of my cerebellum as well. And so then it was a game between my oncologist and then my specialty doctor, specialty OBGYN from Medical City. She needs to have this baby like yesterday
Hmm.
so
Yeah.
we can get her on some treatment ASAP. And they were going back and forth with how early, what's best for the baby and what's best for the patient. So I had him at 32 weeks in Medical City, Dallas. While he spent maybe 3, 4 weeks in the NICU, I was
Hmm.
doing chemotherapy treatments. Um, I want to say a week after I gave birth to him via C-section. And so, yeah, whenever you have liver mets, bone mets, and brain mets, they gave me a time period of 6 to 9 months with treatment. And so, yeah, that's devastating. That brings you to your knees and makes you put life in perspective really, really fast. Especially, I didn't have just one son now. I was married to my best friend now, and I had a new baby. So, a newborn. At the time, I believe Peyton was 11. And yeah, it was heartbreaking, devastating, just a hard, an impossible situation to be in for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely can't imagine. I didn't know earlier that you said that you actually were diagnosed and you're going through cancer and then you gave birth to a child. That is one of the two hardest things to do in the world, honestly. And you were doing them back to back. I mean, that really takes a strong person to
Right.
get through, and that's an amazing part of your story. And also, you mentioned how it just spread throughout a bunch of different parts of your body and everything. And how were you feeling? Were you exhausted? How
Oh,
did that affect you day to day?
my goodness. There is, so bone cancer is a beast of its own. There
Hmm.
is no way to describe the pain that comes with bone cancer. And also, when you just give birth to a baby, your body's already C-section, your
Hmm.
body's already super sore and trying to heal from that. So dealing with that and bone meds, and it was a very, very hard time, one that one does not get through without leaning deep into their inner strength and faith in God for sure.
I know you just said faith in God. Is that what really helped push you through? I mean, I know you obviously had family, but did you really dig deep into your faith in order to come out of this?
Absolutely, 100%. I truly believe that science and diagnoses and logic can only take you so far,
Mm.
and then your faith in God, um, and really leaning on Him, especially whenever you're told by science and logic and doctors that you have 6 to 9. Science tells us you have 6 to 9 months to spend with your newborn baby and your 11-year-old son.
Mhm.
Um, you have to really lean into your relationship with God and Jesus, and try to choose joy during your trials and your healing journey. And my whole thing that really got me through most of this, I believe, was I chose, instead of being sad and depressed and questioning and why me, to worship, while I went through everything I went through, to choose joy and light and speak life. And I believe that is what helped me heal in my journey far more than the drugs. I appreciate the chemotherapy and I appreciate how far science has come in developing cures for cancer, for sure. But I definitely believe there's a mental aspect and a spiritual aspect that can take you far farther than the medication, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, of course. And you're the second survivor that we've talked to so far. And also, the other woman, she mentioned that she had a very close relationship with God and that she also really dug into her faith to keep her going and everything like that. And I just wanted to kind of ask you, you know, how are you still going about it today? Because as you still said, you're not exactly cancer free, but it is a little more under control. Are you still using the same methods that you used back when you were first diagnosed, or have things changed in the past?
No, so absolutely, I definitely use those same methods. Right after I started chemotherapy, a week after I had my son, um, praying and meditating and spending time with God and just really focusing on um, drowning out the noise of all that a cancer diagnosis brings, time frames, blood work, more scans, just quieting the noise and really just spending time in His Word, and digging deep into what it actually means to allow your faith to carry you through trying times. That's what I use now. So after everything was so bad and so spread, probably I would get scans probably every 3 months, and they would slowly start to show the tumor shrinking
Mhm.
and the cancer dissipating, and the CA-15 tumor markers steadily going down. And then you're thinking, okay, great. Let me stay on this path of of choosing joy and worshiping through this trial and leaning into God because it's working. I firmly believe that medicine can only take you so far, like I was saying earlier. But yep, same methods as now. Even though I'm still dealing with these little sneaky reoccurrences of tumors popping up on the spine and the sternum, leaning into my faith and trust God wholeheartedly and believe that He is ultimate healer for sure.
Wow, and I mean, that is just amazing the way that you've handled such a tough situation to be in. I mean, I've never had a cancer diagnosis or anything like that, so I can't really relate, but I can only imagine how hard it must be to actually hear those words and the fact that you've been able to fight through it. And now that you're able to live great experiences, like one that you told me off camera, which is where you got to hang out with a celebrity's mother. Can you tell me more about getting to hang out with Steph Curry's mom?
Yeah, so I shared my journey. Oh, let's back up a little bit.
Okay.
Back when I was in the NICU, she had just released her book, Fierce Love. It was her first book she authored, and my husband bought me that book, and I would read that in the NICU, hanging out with my baby and going between chemotherapy and hanging out in the NICU. I would read that book, and it got me through so much. It's just about fiercely loving your family, digging into your faith, listening to God, and really leaning into His purpose for you. And so, fast forward 3 years later, it was her 3-year anniversary of her book, and she selected 30 women to join her on a Fierce Love retreat in North Carolina at the Grand Over Resort. And she kind of guided us through our what's next path in life. And we got to hang out and share our stories. And she is one of the most kindest, sweetest, genuinely down to earth human beings ever. It was like we had all known each other forever.
For a long time. Yeah.
And getting to learn from her and learn how she navigated her hardships in life. And she had a trainer there who also taught us about how important fitness and the things we put in our body is important as well. But it was one of the most amazing experiences I've ever had in my life, and I'm so blessed to be a part of that. I told her what she did for us and the other 29 women who were selected. It reminded me of how Jesus, when He washed the disciples' feet, it felt like she was washing our feet, helping us navigate through our own trials and tribulations that we all face individually as women in life. And it was such a blessing.
Powerful. Well, I mean, that's amazing. That's obviously very generous for her to invite women out, especially strangers that she's never met, to really just, just to go through that with them and just to say like, hey, I'm here for you, and hey, I want to help you get better. And now you get the chance to do that by being on here. I just want to ask, what do you want to say to women who have maybe just recently been diagnosed or have gone through similar things that you've gone through in the past as well? What do you want to say to them about being able to carry on?
That's interesting that you asked me that question, because her main goal was to get us all to a point where we could take back what we learned from her into our own communities of women and friends and family and anyone else going through hardships in life, and take what we learned from her and share that in our own communities. And this makes me emotional. I would just share with other women who were going through this journey that doctors are amazing. Where oncology is, and every single day, the new discoveries and progression that they're making in cancer cures and medications is great, and we are all so thankful for that. But I would really just want to tell them with my whole heart and my whole genuine soul that really tap into your faith and your relationship with God and Jesus Christ, because medicine and technology can only take you so far, and I really believe the rest is mind over matter in a spiritual sense. You have to believe that you can heal and you can be healed, and just really tap into your faith for sure. Spend time with Him. Spend quiet time in prayer and meditation and drawing close to Him. He's the ultimate comforter for sure.
That's honestly very inspiring, and I love how open you are with your journey and just sharing that with everyone, and how you give such great advice to other women or just anyone in general who could be going through these similar things. And I think that that makes you a very strong person. I'm so
Thank you
thankful,
so
Jasmine,
much.
for you coming on this show. This has been amazing, and I hope, and I'm sure, that people at home are rooting for you. I'm rooting for you as you continue down this journey, and that,
Thank you.
hope everything that works out for you. And I really appreciate you coming on the show today,
Thank you. This
Jasmine.
has been a blessing to be here. To encourage other women on this journey is such a blessing. Um, but I just would encourage them to never give up, to take time for yourself. And yeah, you can do it. All things are possible through him and through your own mental health and rooting yourself on, for sure.
And as more women speak about their experiences, doctors are also pushing for earlier detection, a key factor in saving lives. Dr. Terry Woodard with the Texas Medical Association explains new screening guidelines are helping women catch breast cancer sooner. Terry Woodard, a fertility specialist, is joining me to discuss the importance of breast cancer screening. Terry, how are you doing today?
I am great and happy Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Yes, same to you. This is a really big month out of the entire year, one of the most talked about for sure. And I want to make sure that we accurately, represent it and raise awareness for it. So, we said that you were a fertility specialist. So, talk to me a little bit about what you do and how your profession is related to breast cancer.
So it's interesting, a lot of people ask, okay, you're a fertility specialist. Why are you in a cancer hospital? And the answer is because a lot of cancer treatments, or sometimes even cancer itself, can cause a patient to be at higher risk for infertility. So part of my job is helping counsel patients on their risk, helping them take measures to preserve their fertility so that if they do want to have a child in the future, they can or have those opportunities. And certainly the biggest population of patients that we see come from breast cancer because they're young, reproductive aged women.
Okay, you are honestly doing such amazing things just in that practice alone, but you're also representing the TMA, Texas Medical Association. Am I right on that?
That is correct. I'm one of the committee co-chairs for the TMA Committee on Cancer.
That is awesome. So let's lay like some groundwork here. What are the symptoms of breast cancer, and how can people kind of detect it?
So it can be quite variable. The most often thing you'll hear about is a woman feels a lump that may or may not move, that doesn't go away with her cycle. Sometimes women with inflammatory breast cancer will see a lot of swelling and hardening of the tissue of the breast. Sometimes people will have nipple discharge, but the important thing is not to discount those symptoms. If they're worrisome, a patient should definitely go see a provider to get it checked out.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like the earlier we get that done, the better off that individual will be. So let's dig a little bit deeper into that. Why should women get screened? What's the importance behind that?
So I think the biggest reason why women should get screened, because if we detect it early, we can treat it, we can cure it. And the sooner that the cancer is discovered, the sooner the patient has treatment, and that treatment might be more conservative. So if a woman is found to have an early breast cancer, she might have to have surgery and that's it. But the more advanced the cancer becomes, the more likely she's going to need chemo, radiation, and all the other things that we use to treat breast cancer.
Yeah, absolutely. So just earlier detection, making sure that your process through it doesn't have to be as invasive. So let's talk a little bit about why access to breast cancer screening is so important. Can you dig into that a little bit?
So we know that access is important because it does save lives. When people are diagnosed and can get into treatment early, people survive breast cancer. And we also know that even though the incidence, especially in younger women, has increased, the death rate has actually come down due to better screening methods as well as improvements in treatment.
Okay, well, that's awesome. And how is TMA working to make mammograms and screenings available to everyone? I know that's something that you all kind of touched on this year.
Yeah, absolutely. So we passed two important resolutions, and the TMA, we are all about advocacy. So while we do not directly, provide care, we can make recommendations. And the first recommendation was for us to support the guidelines by the American College of Radiology and Society of Breast Imaging, which states that all women of average risk at the age of 40 should have annual mammography, and that really we shouldn't have an upper limit on mammography depending on what the patient and her provider decide.
Okay. Well, I want to ask before we leave, is there anything else that maybe I don't know to cover or that you want to cover so that people are as aware of as they can be about getting screened and just about breast cancer in general?
Yeah, and I think it's important to realize that screening actually starts before mammography. It's very important for patients to talk about their potential risk for breast cancer, and that's men and women. So, for instance, there are a subset of patients who have genetic mutations that might predispose them to breast cancer, and they should be screened earlier than age 40. And then I think specifically for women, especially around that age of 40, we have so many competing priorities, such as kids, spouses, families, work obligations, and sometimes we put ourselves last. But this is one simple thing that should be done each year to make sure that we are around to take care of those that we love.
Absolutely. Just going to get that screening can possibly save a life. So make sure you all go and get those breast screenings and make sure that you're taking care of yourself. Terry, you were awesome to speak with. Thank you so, so much for all of the great information. For many survivors, the journey doesn't end with remission. It's about finding ways to feel whole again. One East Texas tattoo artist is using her craft to help women restore confidence and reclaim a sense of normalcy after mastectomy surgeries. Julie, I want you to start first by talking to me about your journey with breast cancer. How did you find out and when did you get diagnosed?
Okay. I went in for a routine mammogram in June of 2021. Aw. Oh, you have to hit pause. And I don't get emotional about this, but I took my daughter with me that day because I wanted to teach her how easy early detection was, and I just wanted to show her how easy it was to get a mammogram. And I went in and got a call back that I need to come back. And they wanted my husband to come with me. And so I had an idea, and we went in for an ultrasound, and I was diagnosed that week.
Wow. So completely routine and then the diagnosis
Completely routine.
happened.
I get my mammogram every year to the day.
Wow.
Or I did.
Wow. Okay. So I see you got emotional. Can you talk to me then about that moment when you found out, and then how did that go when you told your husband as well?
Well, he was with me actually now and it's important to me that people know what to expect because it is all so life-changing. But for me, we went and we got the biopsy after the ultrasound, and the results were actually delivered in my chart. And I couldn't get a hold of my doctors, and I was frantically calling. So my son was a biology major at the time at UT, and I sent it to him, and he knew what it meant. But I called my friend Laura O'Halloran, who's a doctor here in Tyler, and she said, you have 2 kinds of breast cancer.
Oh my gosh, 2. Okay, I didn't know that it was 2. Jesus, I'm so sorry. Okay, so can you talk to me a little bit about the 2 different kinds? Do you know kind of what the 2 different kinds were and the treatment for them?
I had very early stage. One was called, I'm not super technical, but I was very early. One was called in situ, which is when it's not even, it's almost considered pre-cancer, and the other was stage 1B, but it still required chemo. I had to have a mastectomy at the time because the 2 cancers were just far enough apart that I couldn't get a lumpectomy. So I had to end up getting a mastectomy on my right breast. At the time, I chose not to have a double mastectomy. and then I ended up going back and getting the other breast. A year and a half later, I found a lump in the other breast that turned out to be only a cyst. And by the time we got out of that appointment, my husband had already made me an appointment to get the other mastectomy. And then Laura ended up having to take care of me then again. So now both breasts are gone.
Wow. Well, like I said, we're really glad that you're okay. You are stronger than you probably would ever know, but you know how strong you are. So I'm gonna stick on this topic just a little bit longer. What was your motivation through treatment? What was that motivation as you were going through treatment and experiencing this? Because a lot of women, unfortunately, do have to go through this.
I think that my only motivation was my children. I mean, I kept just thinking I want to be here for my kids. I had a young daughter. My daughter was 10 when I was diagnosed. And I had prayed. I had a son at 20, a son at 30. And I prayed for a daughter my whole life. And I was 40 almost when I had her. And I kept thinking, I want to be here to raise her. And I kept praying. And I thought, you know what? If I'm not here to raise her, God knew that was going to happen. Somebody will take care of her. She'll be fine. But I wanted to be here to raise her. And so that was my motivation. And boy, she got me through. She got me through.
So funny.
Oh, she's a handful, but she got me through.
And her mama is here and doing a beautiful job. Okay, so I want to kind of jump into y'all's relationship because you were talking to me a little bit, and then once I walked in, the friendship is so apparent. I love it.
Laura's like that with everyone. Laura is just, if you know her, you love her.
Well, it could be like two talkers together, and we could both talk to a brick wall.
I love it.
We're just like immediately.
I love it. I know you were saying you don't quite fully remember, but both of you all can chime in on this one. So how did you find out about it? And if she doesn't remember, do you remember the first contact that she made with you?
Do you remember?
No, we can't remember exactly how she found out about me because she was in Dallas at a different, like, I do have relationships with most of the plastic surgeons here, so it could have been O'Halloran during one of your consults with her.
It could have been. I don't remember.
Yeah.
And I just remember I did not want to make the appointment. I used profanity the first time a doctor said nipple tattoo to me. I was like, this is not going to work out for me.
She came in, I have not had any tattoos, I have never done this. And I was like, it's good, we're good. Most people haven't, but let's get you one.
To let someone
really
lay
was
over
just
your
one
chest
at
for
that
how
time.
many hours? 3?
Yeah, about 3.
And-
Yeah,
Jeez.
it's a lot of detail. I try
It's
to
a
make
lot
it
of
really, really
detail.
natural looking,
It's
realistic.
afterwards when I sent my son a picture. I mean, he's a med school student. We're that kind of family. But I sent him a picture and he said, no, I want to see the tattoo.
Yeah,
Because I still had my other one. He thought it was something. I said, no, that's my tattoo.
Yeah.
That's how real they look after she finishes.
yeah.
What?
Yes.
Oh, you're
I
good.
try. I do try.
You're
He
good.
thought it was, and he did thought it was a real thing. That's how realistic they look when she does it.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
what I definitely try to go for. That's what I want everyone to hear.
Okay, I wanna.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
I want to learn more about you because this is unique. I feel like I haven't heard about this. So, how did you get your start, and what made you want to go into this specific type of tattoo?
So, basically, I just kind of, realized I wanted to make a career out of doing permanent makeup. And then when I went looking for, different schools that offered it and decided on a school, I decided on a program that trained me to do a lot of different things, basically all at once. So I did eyebrows, lips, eyeliner, all your regular makeup stuff. And then I saw areola restoration. I'm like, what is that? And it really drew me to choosing that school because I thought it was amazing, and I hadn't heard of it until then either. This was back in like 2018. Basically went to that school and got trained, and yeah, I've been doing it for 7 years now. I've always done, the makeup and that together at the same time. So a lot of times it's like I've been telling her for a million years, it's time for me to do your eyebrows now.
She's been telling me. They didn't come back very dark after chemo, and
Yeah.
they're almost gone.
But she's so scared. And she was that way with, even like the body, the areolas.
Well, you can't feel after a mastectomy.
Yeah.
So you can't feel anything that she's doing.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't know that. You're totally numb.
Oh yeah, the nerves are gone. A lot of the people that I do that are like 7 years out or 10, they have a lot more feeling, but most people don't feel most of them don't feel any of it.
Wow, I did not know that.
They take everything. They really do. They take every bit. They just leave a little skin.
Skin.
Mhm.
That's it.
Yeah.
Wow, okay, I didn't know that. So, when I know you were talking about the detailing, you were saying how realistic it looks. How hard is that for you to get that realistic of a result on people?
I mean, I think you have to be an artist to like really even halfway understand that or be able to do it. And I am an artist. That's the only thing I've ever been good at. That's what I love to say. It's my famous line is like, I didn't play sports and I didn't do, you know, any extracurriculars except for the, for art. I did art class since I was 12. I learned I could like draw pretty realistically around 10 and basically was obsessed with art ever since then. But when I got into more of like your high school art, it's when I really realized I was good at making things look 3D that aren't. In fact, my freshman art teacher loved me because we did a lot of still lifes, and you're doing this 3D model of whatever they put that day on a flat piece of paper. So it's all highlights and shading and just being artistic and understanding it, and it's my favorite. It's
Wow,
my favorite thing.
I can only imagine how
Yeah.
difficult that is because literally everybody's so different, but yet you're still doing it for each person.
Well, and it's hard to make someone feel comfortable when they come in. My first mastectomy was July of 21. I've been wearing the same bra since then. And I was like, the health department's gonna come take this bra away. Like, it's disgusting. It was disgusting. I was too embarrassed to throw it away. And I didn't want to go to pick out a bra. I did not want anyone. Like, it's hard to trust someone you've got these scars, you've got this, you
It's a
have
lot
to
of
be a special
trauma.
person to be able to have people let you into their lives like that. And she's special. I mean, she really is. I mean, she's just one of a kind. You really are.
So are you.
Well, thank you.
I love you. Yeah, I mean, it is weird, and it was really weird in my beginning years, being like, okay, it's time for you to get naked. Let's have a
It
look.
is.
Let's take a picture or 7. It's weird, but it's gotten easier with time, and they're just some of the most amazing women I've ever met in my life. Like, seriously, and I get to be like their actual final last step.
She's
Which
like the
is-
finishing. You're
I-
without.
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
how long do you have to go?
So I get like the best part, whereas all of these surgeons that you see and all the doctors'
Depressing,
appointments,
bad
everything.
news.
And it's like I get to be the last part where they're actually looking forward to it.
David made my appointment, and how long did you tell him? I don't remember how long it was. You said, no, she has to be how long post-op?
3 months.
Okay, it was separate. You were booked out, and it took a little while to get in.
Yeah.
And so the night before, I said, I don't think I want to go do this. And because all I had was this bare, naked, this scar. And then that night after I got it, I was like, I can't believe how much I missed this because you just look so funny without them. You don't even realize how much it made you feel normal to get it.
That's the best part right there, because that's what they all say. They all say like, I feel like a woman again.
Yes.
And it's like one of those lines that like everybody says, but it just like every time it means so much. It means the world, because that's a really cool thing I get to do. And
It is.
I'm blessed that I get to see that multiple times.
It is really, you just don't even realize how important it is.
Well, a lot of them are just y'all are so tired of being like poked and prodded. A lot of
Touched,
people are like,
looked
I'm just
at.
not even gonna do that. Like I'm gonna wait. I don't really think it's that important. And some people do wait. Some people I don't see until like 3 or 4 years, post everything, and they're just like, I can't believe I waited this long, like to feel
That's
this way
one
again.
reason I thought this story was so important. I'm like, I don't want people to have be afraid, have a stigma about. I mean, it does seem weird until you need it. Like what if you've never needed a nipple tattoo? Yeah, it's weird. Yeah, it's weird. But until you've had breast cancer and you've had all that ripped away, and you know what?
Well, and what I've heard a lot, I assume you're going to agree, I'm pretty sure, is that you just have to get through all that time, you have to kind of detach, your emotions
Absolutely.
from the actual breast. I think they coach you on that, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't, otherwise you're going to look in the mirror and feel really, really sad and upset. You just have to detach
A
from
lot of
them
women
for a
cover
bit.
their mirrors.
Yeah.
A lot of women cover their mirrors so they don't have to look because it is.
I'm sure. I mean, that's a whole new,
Mhm,
view for
mhm.
you. So
Oh,
it's a lot.
looking at that mastectomy, you don't
Well, I want to take a step back because you all were kind of talking about the process in which it is to get the tattoo, and I want to ask you, what was that like coming here? I know you said you cussed, you said some explicits there. So can you
She was
talk
so
to
funny
me?
immediately.
Can you
I was
talk to
like,
me when
"This
you
one's
sat in the
funny."
chair and walk me through what that was like for women who may want to know?
Sure, she could probably tell you more than, I mean, you know, you come in here and it's so comfortable. You walked in here and it's just so, she's got this place so, I mean, a lot of people come here for other cosmetic things too, but here it's just so easy. You come in and she just makes you feel so comfortable. Do you want a blanket? Are you okay? You know, you lay down and she is, you know, there's a lot of environments that might not be like this one and a lot of people that might not be like Laura. But you come in and you feel comfortable instantly, or I did.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, that's what made it so easy for me. And like I said, you're in, I mean, she's right down on top of, you know, that's how this works.
Mm-hmm.
That's how this works. And she has to change colors and has to change angle. And I mean, she's,
You know what you're talking about.
I mean, she's got that pin right down there, and like right when you think she's getting ready to be done, she's like, nope, gotta get some more white in there, gotta get some more. I mean, this is a whole thing.
Yeah.
Wow.
I do draw them on, and we do measurements and stuff. And of course, with her situation, it was different because I was trying to make it look like her
Existing the first time.
her original, like her, what is that word? Her actual nipple. You know, she kept
Yeah,
it.
oh, that's
she
right.
kept the side that didn't have the cancer, and so that was kind of cool to do.
That was your first time to do that.
No, it wasn't the first time, but it's one of my favorite things to do for sure.
Oh,
Just
okay.
because like you get the real one sitting there looking at you, and you can you know make it match, which
Yeah.
is it's a little more challenging, and I like it. But so we did that, but I do that with everybody, of course, where I'm gonna you know measure, put you know draw it on, like okay, what do you think about this size? What do you think about you know putting it here? Do you want it further over here? Do you want it further up? So you know they look in the mirror and approve everything before we like just go. But with hers, I got to make it match her original, and then of course I'm like, Julie, why didn't you just take all of it? You know, she's like, I don't know, I think I might. And sure enough, she
Fast
did.
forward.
And
Wow.
then she was like, well, this one always looked better anyway after you tattooed that one. Now I just want them both.
Yeah,
And my husband wants it to be gone. And I was like, I don't blame you a bit. So then we just did the other one like 6 months later or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
And we just made it match the other side.
And everything
It's kinda
matches.
That
Now I
is
got a full matching set of everything.
beautiful.
from the courage it takes to survive, to the science that saves lives, and the art that helps women heal. These stories remind us what real strength looks like. This Breast Cancer Awareness Month, take a moment for yourself. Schedule that screening, pay attention to the signs, and reach out to the women in your life who are still fighting every day. Breast cancer doesn't just affect the person diagnosed. It touches families, friends, and entire communities. Even small actions like checking in, donating, sharing knowledge can make a big difference. So as you listen, let these stories inspire you. Stand with those who have fought, support those still fighting, and remember that awareness and action can save lives.